Hofty, good morning. The Committee on Infrastructure, Economic Development, Simon Sanchez High School, Disability Service, Self-Determination, and Historic Preservation, Housing, Public Accountability, and the Guam Bureau, and the Committee on Human Resources, Hagat and Revitalization, Regional Affairs, Public Library, Telecommunications, Technology, Federal, and Foreign Affairs would like to call this oversight hearing to order. The time is now 9:02 a.m., and today is Monday, April 10, 2023. For the record, and in accordance with 5 GCA Chapter 8, subsection 8107, public hearing notices were sent out Tuesday, April 4, 2023, adhering to the 5-day notice, and the second public notice was on Saturday, April 8, 2023, 48 hours prior. In addition to this hearing's notice was published on the legislature's website, www.guamlegislature.com. The agenda for this oversight hearing includes the following: business privilege tax on military construction contracts, OPA report number 23-03, March 23, and then the 37 GL 230215 off OPA report number 2302, Department of Revenue and Taxation assets and collections of excess tax of alcohol, beverage, and tobacco products. The agenda materials for today's oversight has been printed and were shared in the committee drive. I'd like to recognize my colleagues joining me today: Vice Speaker Tina Rose Munoz-Barnes and Speaker Therese M. Terlahi. Thank you, colleagues, for joining me this morning. This is a joint committee effort, and I would like to acknowledge Vice Speaker to provide her opening remarks now.
Mr. Chair, and Manana Situas to the panel members here this morning and the listening audience. On May 25th, ladies and gentlemen, 2021, in my capacity as the chairwoman on the Guam Military Buildup and Public Accountability, I requested that Public Auditor Benjamin J.F. Cruz conduct an audit on the military construction contracts. And as a part of my request, included was research conducted by my committee to determine whether recipients of defense contracts were filing and paying their taxes on Guam as mandated by Guam law. Findings from the 1998 and the 2014 audit conducted by the U.S. Department of Interior's Office of the Inspector General, which highlighted deficiencies of the government of Guam as it related to collections on taxes from federal contractors, were also appended to my requests. And lastly, the requests to the public auditor included recommendations from my committee. And then on March 13, 2023, after an extensive audit, the Office of Public Accountability released OPA report number 23-03 relative to the collection of business privilege taxes on military construction contracts. And Mr. Chair, I know that the report has just been received. I had an extensive opening remark just to kind of give the history of what went on. And I know that we may need to take more time or what have that. So I'll yield back to you, Mr. Chair, but thank OPA and DRT for being here, as always, very supportive, and the ultimate end that we hope that whatever the findings shares with our colleagues that we have and the community, that we'll be able to recover what the report literally entails us. But this is a start, and we're here to continue to work together from the legislative component to the government arms that are needed to help recover what is literally owed to Guam. So, Mr. Chair, I'll yield back to you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Speaker. We will have today's agenda. We will have two items for discussion from the representatives of the OPA and Department of Revenue and Taxation. Before I introduce our representatives to begin the presentation, I will proceed with the following rules of engagement. We will have two rounds per item. First round of presentation and second round will be for questions and answers. Each center will be allotted 2 questions per item. For the conduct, the chair shall first recognize individuals presenting and for the record purposes to state their names as well. And discussion and questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Individuals speaking shall only be respectful and use professional language and conduct. Personal interference about character, or motive of any senator and any individual testifying is not permitted. All must abide by the rules of conduct and the quality assurance standards. The chairperson of the committee may order the removal from the hearing or the committee or subcommittee of any person who is not a member of the Guam legislature and who fails to observe proper decorum according to the 37th Guam legislature standing rules. Any violations of this rule of conduct will result in the removal from the hearing. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. At this time, I recognize the OPA representative, Speaker BJ Cruz, and Mr. Vince Duenas from OPA.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for calling us here today for this hearing. With all due respect, I was at loss as to what was going to happen this morning, so I didn't prepare an opening statement. But on both of the audits that we've released, we continued our practice of doing a presentation to you and to the Oversight Chair of the subject matter. And we have the PowerPoint presentation that was presented. If you want that done this morning, we can. I was of the understanding that this was going to be a very short meeting to be actually continued, but that is ready on a thumb drive and can be.
Yeah, we are going to make this very short this morning, and then we'll recess until the 19th, and then we'll discuss the presentation and the findings. So we just wanted to just give you some time to give an open remark, and then we'll go back to DRT to give her opening remarks.
Yeah, before I start, I know before we went on the air, we were joking about you can do social distancing. No, revenue and taxation in our office are very close. We've had to be close because if you look at the list of performance audits that have been done by the Office of Public Accountability, over the last 5 years, the majority of them have been at revenue and taxation. And that has come from my own bias of wanting to make sure that we collect enough taxes to run the government. The joke has been over the last several years that I really should just have an office at that big building in Tejan because I spend so much time there. And my staff lives there for so long in doing the audit for the Vice Speaker that I think some people thought that he was actually a member of their staff and no longer mine. And I just want to make it very clear, Mr. Chairman, that there is no adversarial relationship between the two of us. And in fact, I want to point out that the business privilege tax at revenue taxation, that group of anywhere from 7 to 9 individuals should get government commendation. Those 9 individuals collect over $400 million a year. And that's without auditing. I mean, just by enforcement. They are phenomenal people. The thing is that we both agree that there needs to be more people in that division. In the 2 audits that we pointed out, in the cigarette tax one, we both agree that the tax should be collected at the port, and the business privilege tax division at revenue and taxation should not have to be going out and doing the counts at the for the release, counts for burning, counts for whatever. It should just be down at the port, end of sentence, and if there's going to be any credits, then they can submit their credits. The same thing with the audit on the military construction. It was the recommendation of the Inspector General in 2014 that the Department of Revenue and Taxation increase their staff. I was chair of Appropriations and Ways and Means until 2018, and during that period, We just didn't have the money for expansion. In fact, it was during that period in 18 that we increased the business privilege tax to 5% because the Trump tax completely gutted the government. And so they haven't had the opportunity to, but they agree that they need to expand, enlarge the number of FTEs they have in that division. And so I just want to make it very clear that revenue and taxation, and Madam Vice Speaker, I want to publicly apologize to you for the time that it took to issue this audit. It was almost 2 years, and it shouldn't have been that long. We have a rule in the office to try to get things out by 6 months, at the most 8. But as you know, in 2020 and 2021, the Department of Revenue and Taxation was issuing checks to just about everything that there was and getting income tax out. So we were very understanding of the fact that they were short-staffed, not only short-staffed, but they were being burdened by additional responsibilities that weren't part of their mandate. And it took time because I wanted to make sure that I was not sued for defamation in releasing any audit, that I could not say that we took the time to do due diligence. I mean, we had, I think, like 3 exit conferences because I just said, no, that this can't be. We've got to do this. And so it had to be redone and redone. And that's why it took 20 months, to get it out. But they were short and overburdened, and our office was also short and overburdened. We had different things that we had to do for other responsibilities, and it just spiraled into a 2-year audit, which I've instructed my supervisor here to make sure that never happens again. We've got to get those things out in a timely fashion. But I'd be willing to discuss more of it. I just wanted to, as a preface, to understand that I recognize the efforts being made and laud the efforts being made by the Department of Revenue and Taxation in trying to collect. The purpose of our audit was to point out how we could assist them in making, in assuring that they do fulfill their responsibility. The recommendation of the introduction to DFAS really has to be done. I know that the director has spoken to the admiral, and I'm not sure when they're scheduled to go to Ohio or wherever DFAS is at, or Cleveland. Yeah, I guess that's in Ohio. But they need to have, it needs to be done because they need the information from DFAS on how much was actually released on any month or any year or any period. For our income tax, we have W-2s and 1099s, and you know who got paid how much. Unfortunately, they don't. And in our audit, we made recommendations on how to improve the format of their gross receipts tax filing form to insist that certain things be done. I mean, be provided to document those things, that you can't just say, I made $2,400,023. There has to be some documentation. And in the area of the joint ventures and the LLCs, they're just going to have to do an audit of one of those. I mean, there's just no way. And I believe that if you do one audit, it's going to scare everybody into doing something. I mean, all the rest of them. In fact, I mean, it's not my place to do it, but when I was chair of appropriations, there were times when we were so short of money that the Department of Revenue and Taxation did amnesty programs. And I think maybe after some discussion with the legislature, the department can be authorized to do an amnesty and just tell everybody, we're going to start doing audits in 90 days. During this 90 days, if you come in and amend your returns for the last 3 or 5 years, we'll talk about, you know, whether or not we'll waive penalties and interest. If we do an audit and find that you have been fraudulent in your filing, then not only will you not get a waiver on your penalty and your interest, but you'll be made to pay immediately, and if not that, just that, maybe even criminal action for their fraudulent action. But there has to be some. And now that the pandemic is over, and hopefully they're not having to issue tens of thousands of checks for people whose income were under a certain amount, they might be able to do some audits to do that. But I just wanted to assure the department that there is no division between the two of us. We have a very good relationship, and we're understanding when they lose staff, because we've lost staff and had to try to do things. So again, I apologize, Madam Vice Speaker, for the long time that it took to issue this, but I think we've made some good recommendations, and hopefully it can be followed through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Auditor.
Okay, thank you, OP. I recognize Department of Revenue and Taxation for considering that this is a tax season for DRT. I would like to express an undanklaness to you guys for joining us today, even though you guys have to go prepare for the tax season. With this joint oversight hearing and your service to the people, please introduce yourselves and then just give really brief remarks, and then we'll proceed from there.
Senator Quinata, Vice Speaker Munya Barnes, Speaker Terlahi, and Senator Lujan for being here. And, I, of course, want to, on the record, my name is Daphne Shimizu, and I'm the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Of course, we're here today to talk about 2 public auditor reports. I want to make sure that that I go on the record to state that for the report relating to tobacco and alcohol, I'd recused myself, and so it was Deputy Director Lizama that had spearheaded that effort and worked with our team and with the public auditor. And I want to, I want to thank the public auditor as well for his opening statement. I do want to say that with regards to our relationship with the public auditor, and I've known the public auditor for many years. I've also known Mr. Duenas, who has been in the public auditor's office for many years. And I mentioned to Vince a few months ago that I had gone to an AGA meeting in DC. The AGA is the Association of Government Accountants meeting, and at that meeting, there was the Inspector General, and there were some grantees, and they did some panel presentations. And the main focus of the meeting was collaboration. And I had mentioned to Vince, and I think that the public auditor agrees that the collaboration between our agencies is very important. Ultimately, we're here to make sure that we, that we secure the interest of our people, our government, and of course, follow the law. And so I appreciate that. To go into a little bit of the BPT team, and I want to thank our whole team because it has been a challenging couple of years, of course, and now we are coming into a period where we are able to do things more in normal circumstances. But in terms of our BPT team, we actually, I think even under this, even prior to 2019 when I started at the Department of Revenue and Taxation, we had not had a permanent person in the position of a BPT supervisor. And during the period of this audit, I think we must have had 3 people in acting capacity. One person, the second person we had thought would perhaps be permanent and apply for the position, but ended up retiring, and so we had to bring another person in to be in that leadership position. And so it has been challenging. We appreciate, of course, the public auditor's recognition of that. With regards to DFAS, I actually did not speak to the Admiral myself. I wanted to make sure I put that on the record too. But we have reached out to our federal counterparts, and also we have met with Joint Region Marianas back in 2019, I think early 2020 maybe, and to discuss the issue of the military contractors. And again, I just want to say thank you to the public auditor and of course to the committee. But you know, of course, we didn't have a presentation actually prepared for today. But if you would like, we are here today to answer perhaps any questions that you may have. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to the Deputy Director.
Good morning, Chairman Quinata, Vice Speaker Barnes, and Speaker Talahi, as well as Senator Lujan. My name is Marie Lazama. I am the Deputy Director at the Guam Department of Revenue and Taxation. As the Director mentioned, she had recused herself from one of the audits, and so I was the person that was tasked to be the point of contact and to lead that. I do want to thank the public auditor and his team, and most especially Selena and Vince. They've shown nothing but professionalism, and they've been really patient with us, you know, recognizing that in our line of work, it is constantly busy. And so we look forward to discussing the audit, which will show that while we may have some areas where we perhaps did not quite come to an agreement with, for the most part, it will give a chance to highlight that we should streamline some of our processes, you know, improve upon some of them, and perhaps establish some controls. You know, it will also give us a chance to explain why we do things the way that we do. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Thank you, Director. And again, I'm sorry. I want to recognize my colleague for joining me this morning, Jesse Lohan, Senator Jesse Lohan. Thank you. Mr. Duenas, would you like to give any brief remarks? Okay. As a reminder, again, the first round of this was for presentation purposes, and then the second round was for Q&A. But given the circumstances that the DRT Director has to proceed back to DRT to finish up some taxes regarding the tax season, we'll go ahead and call for a recess to return back on April 19, 2023 at 8 a.m. This will allow the members to provide their 2 questions and allow time for OPA and DRT to prepare responses. And I'll also ask for the thumb drive from Mr. Vince Duenas and any other documentation that you would like to provide to the body. And we'll go ahead and disseminate the information in the drive as well. You may submit your questions in writing to my office at office of Senator Quinata at guamlegislature.org or WhatsApp me at 671-472-4826. Sid Zeus Masi again for being here today. And I just want to, defer to the Vice Chair, Vice Speaker Tina Rose Munoz-Barnes to give closing remarks.
Sid Zeus Masi, Mr. Chair, for this. More importantly, to the panel members, just hearing the conversation and the presentation on your opening remarks this morning, I want to say on Dunkle and Sid Zeus Masi. You know, it usually says patience is a virtue, but in this area, Mr. Auditor, I want to say that you never give up, right? We just keep moving along, and I want to take the time to thank the staff from both OPA and Department of Revenue and Taxation because your due diligence and making sure that we're not going to work against each other, but we're going to work with each other, and knowing that so many things have happened, even during COVID, you guys didn't stop working in as far as what it needed to do to transition forward, and with the shortages of staff on both sides, but just trying to move along, it really did happen, and we did come up with some answers or some recommendations that need to be done, and I think that the people of Guam will see that when we do the presentation in several days. But more, I just want to say thank you for not giving up, because this was very near and dear to me. As I said, if we need to look for more money, look for more resources, let's first look what is due to us and what is owed to us so that we can try to recover. And in this effort, seeing you both work together really makes me feel good that moving forward, we will continue to collect literally what's due to us from all these federal contracts that are out there working closely with the military. And I won't stop there. As Oversight Chair of Federal Foreign Regional Affairs, and just working closely with the military buildup and being the vice chair on that, I haven't given up, and I will continue to do work on our side from the legislative body to continue our due diligence also. So thank you for that. So, Mr. Chair, I hope we can meet on the new date, April 19th, right?
At this time, I'll defer to Speaker to raise your line now. You want to give up? Okay. Senator Jesse Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming this morning. I do look forward as well to seeing how we can help. We hear, of course, the staffing is a great challenge, but also we want to see what we can do as well in the technology side to be able to help in that as well. I know you guys are bogged down. This is your time of the year, and so we look forward to seeing how we can collaborate and help you guys, give you the tools and mechanisms to be able to get your work done, and likewise for us to be able to get information at a click of a button. So we're hoping that will happen real soon in working together with both yourselves and this side of the House. Thank you very much.
Okay, Sidus Masi for being here today, DRT and OPA. I want to acknowledge Senator Talo Taidagui for joining me this morning. And we're now in recess until April 19, 2023 at 8 a.m. Take care, Sidus Masi, and have a great day. God bless.